Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We're just about at the top of the hour. So glad to have you here. We'll get started in just a second as we start to see the attendees roll fill up. But welcome, everybody, to our today's Brown University Online Master Public Health webinar. The topic today is on financial aid essentials. We're going to help bust some financial aid myths for you today. And so what are we talking about specifically? We're going to go over three specific financial aid myths. We're going to bust those for you and talk a little bit more about what the facts are. We'll also have a time to just refresh your memory on what makes Brown Online Master Public Health unique. We'll go through a quick application checklist. You'll see along the bottom of the screen that we're currently enrolling for the fall 2024 cohort. And so looking at deadlines for that, we'll go a quick overview of the application checklist, and then we do have time for Q&A at the end. So at any time during our presentation today, just click that Q&A icon on your screen, type in your question, and we'll get to it toward the end of our time together today. You don't have to wait for the Q&A to submit your question. Submit at any time you want to know a little bit more about something. So with that, let's introduce the folks who are going to be sharing the time with us today. First is Chris Gilbody. He's Director of Graduate Financial Aid at Brown. Chris, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So as Sparky said, my name is Chris Gilbody. I'm the Director of Graduate Financial Aid. I actually just came back to Brown in August of this past year. I worked at Brown from 2010 to 2015 with our undergraduate populations and have worked in financial aid for about 17 years now. So happy to be here with you and share some information about financial aid at Brown.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Chris. Joining Chris today is Kim Pulaski, a Brown's enrollment coach. So Kim, tell us a little bit more about you. And for those who don't know what an enrollment coach is, kind of like for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sparky. So yes, my name is Kim Pulaski. I am an enrollment coach with Brown. I have been in higher education for about 15 years at this point in a very similar type of role. So I've been with Brown for 2 years, specifically with our online Masters in Public Health. And my job really is to help give you some guidance, to answer questions for you about the program, about the application process, and really just to support you through your enrollment phase and get you to the point where we're ready to send your application packet over to committee. So, I love talking to everybody that I get a chance to speak to. I know my fellow enrollment coaches do as well. So yeah, we're just here really to help support you with your goals and your dreams of pursuing this program with Brown.
Awesome, Kim. Thanks so much. All right, well, let's get into the meat of it. Again, we've got three financial aid myths that we're going to try to bust for you today. So the first one is an Ivy League MPH is unaffordable. You hear Ivy League, you hear Masters, and dollar signs start to show up in people's heads. So Chris, I'm hoping you can start off by dispelling the myth that an Ivy League MPH, in this case, Brown's MPH specifically, what about Brown's degree busts that myth that it's an unaffordable master's for folks?
Absolutely. So you'll see our per course rate of the $5,200 is actually on the lower end for a lot of our online programs and other graduate programs that we have here at Brown. And you'll see that the total for the degree with health insurance, which is waivable if you do have your own health insurance, is $66,655. In terms of graduate education, this is something that we believe is pretty affordable, especially for an Ivy League MPH. So.
Yeah, very good. And I think part of it, in addition to being on the low end of the cost, is that people think, part of the reason a master's degree is unaffordable is that, financial aid is tougher to come by than for an undergrad degree, or maybe there aren't as many scholarships or other forms of aid available. So that's where this slide comes in. So talk a little bit more about, there are some differences between, financial aid for a graduate program as opposed to an undergrad program, but still plenty of good opportunity for people to take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Brown offers merit-based scholarships for students who are applying to the online MPH programs. Not every applicant will receive one of these, but students who do apply are considered for merit-based scholarships that cover either 20, 30, 50, or sometimes even 100% of their tuition cost. So this is a great opportunity. And merit-based scholarships are basically free money. These are true scholarships. So this is something that will help you afford those total costs. By filling out your application for federal financial aid, the FAFSA, you can actually also qualify for federal student loans, which can help cover some of those costs that we were talking about on the last slide as well. The two primary options for those would be the unsubsidized direct loan, which is one of the better loan options out there for many students who qualify. And the qualifications really are just filling out your FAFSA and being a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. So there's not a huge list of requirements in order to qualify for this particular loan. As long as you don't have any major credit blemishes on your credit history, which would mean things like bankruptcies or foreclosures, you most likely will qualify for this unsubsidized loan. And then students sometimes also look at additional funding to help cover that gap. And so if the unsubsidized loan and your merit-based scholarships do not cover the full amount of your cost of attendance, then you can also look into additional options like the Graduate Plus loan, which is another federal loan provided by the Department of Education that you apply for separately. You do have to fill out your FAFSA to qualify for this, but this is also a great opportunity to help cover your full cost. And again, this has one of the lower fixed interest rates, and it qualifies for a lot of the great federal incentives, including the repay plans, save plans, and other plans that help you potentially repay these at the lowest rates possible. Students who do not qualify for federal financial aid, including international students and other domestic students who may not qualify for one reason or another, can also apply to private educational loans. These would be those various student loan banks that you've heard of in the past. And we have a great tool on our website that will actually help you compare some of these private loans as well. But essentially, these loans allow you, if you have strong credit score, you may potentially be able to get favorable rates in terms of the loans that are out there for you. Repayment plans can be pretty flexible on all the options above and can be a really solid option to help you cover a lot of these costs. These are in addition to outside scholarships or employer reimbursement that you can also explore. So if you find an outside scholarship, these can be applied directly to your cost. And the same with if your employer is willing to help cover some of these costs for you. Typically after you've passed a class, you can submit the receipt for your tuition that you've paid for, and they will help reimburse you for those as well.
All right. Fantastic. So a lot more options for people than they might think offhand. And I think another interesting thing to point out, you mentioned the importance of the FAFSA in terms of federal student loans. There's obviously going to be other application for these other types of loans. For the Brown merit-based scholarships, you don't need to submit an additional application to be considered for the scholarship. You just have to complete your overall program application, and then there's that automatic consideration for the scholarship as well. So another perk for getting your application in as quick as you can to improve your chances of being selected for those scholarships with a strong application. So well, that's great, Chris. So the next myth that we want to talk about, all financial aid must be paid back immediately. You did talk about, hey, those Brown scholarships, those outside scholarships, that's free money. You don't have to pay that back. I know this is something that's been in the news for a while in terms of student loan repayments. There's some, changes of it around COVID. Let's talk a little bit more about this myth and help set the record straight for folks in terms of what needs to be paid back, what doesn't, and when and how.
Absolutely. So if you do receive a Brown Merit Scholarship, those don't have to be repaid. As Sparky said, this is free money, so this will be something that will be applied directly to your tuition bill and will help reduce the total cost for you. So this is obviously our favorite option for you when you have those merit scholarships. This is free money to help reduce those total costs for you. In terms of your federal student loans, the unsubsidized loan and the Graduate Plus loan we were talking about, typically you can sign up for your payment to be deferred while you're in school. So as long as you're enrolled at least half time, which is typically one credit, you will be able to defer your student loans while you're in school, which means that you don't have to make any payments on those loans at this time. Interest does accumulate, but you are able to make interest-only payments if you'd like to. That is 100% up to you. If not, you will have 6 months after you graduate or take a leave of absence from the university for any reason before payment kicks in. And so you have a little bit of time before you have to start making any payments towards these. The next bullet, public service loan forgiveness. If you end up in the public service and qualify after you make 10 years of on-time payments, over a 20-year span of when your payments could potentially have to be repaid, you may qualify for public service loan forgiveness, which is essentially a way to help keep your costs down while you're making those initial payments on your student loans. Spread them out over this long period of time to help minimize how much you actually pay. And then when you hit that 10-year of on-time payments, the government will review your application and see if you qualify for forgiveness. And forgiveness would essentially wipe out that second half of your loan volume, which could actually be greater than half of what you originally borrowed. So it's a fantastic plan. And a lot of the repayment options that are available now, especially the SAFE plan, which was a newer plan released within the last 2 years, can really make these payments affordable and truly based off of what your discretionary income looks like when you start making your paychecks after you complete your degree. So definitely worth considering. Private student loans also usually have some flexibility in terms of repayment. You can talk to these lenders about your particular repayment needs. Some will allow you to defer while you're in school. So you will have a similar 6-month grace period in terms of when you have to start making payments. Others will have some payment while you're in school to help make sure that you become a good borrower and start those good habits of making payments towards those loans along the way. And then others actually, they have a variety of options where you can start repayment right away if you're also have funds available to you to help make those payments, help minimize the amount of interest that will accumulate over that time frame. So all of these options provide great flexibility and allow you to really do what works best for you in terms of repayment in the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I mean, that's the whole reason that this online MPH was created, was to provide option, provide flexibility, provide access to a greater number of people to a Brown quality education. And that's reflected in the financial aid options and repayment options that are available to people. So I appreciate that, Chris. So myth number 3, I've got to do all this financial aid stuff on my own. I got to do the heavy lifting. I got to do the application. So this is where Kim and Chris, I think each of you have an opportunity to contribute to this. Kim, I'll start with you. What can you, as an enrollment coach, what's your role with financial aid, or helping answer questions, helping people understand what they need to do in the process?
That's a great question. So I'm not the financial guru that Chris is by any stretch of the imagination, but because I've worked in higher ed for a long time, I can certainly give you the broad strokes of what financial aid, like specifically FAFSA, is all about. I can talk through, obviously the financial cost. I kind of want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the merit-based scholarship at this point, because I think that's the biggest question I get. Most people who I speak with have obviously they've gotten their bachelor's degree, which is a prereq to pursuing your master's. But even the majority of the folks we talk to have at least a master's or even a doctorate. So they've been through the whole shebang here. But let's talk for a minute about the merit-based scholarship, because I know this is really important for pretty much everybody who doesn't like free money. I love free money. I wish I had a money tree out back growing. So the way it works is that when committee is reviewing someone's application packet for admissions, like Sparky said, you don't have to do an additional application for the scholarship consideration. It is going to be automatic. So the committee takes a very holistic approach when they are reviewing not only for admissions, but for that scholarship opportunity. And I'll just repeat the amounts. So there's 20%, 30%, 50%, and 100% on the table. I'll be really honest, 100% is pretty challenging to get, and it's rare. But the others, the committee is really traditionally been very generous with. So they look at everything in your packet, not only for admissions, but for this scholarship. And so the things that are pretty important are going to be letters of recommendation. You want people to speak very, very loudly on your behalf, and your personal statement. So I'm not saying the rest of it isn't important. It certainly is. And I'm going to talk about that in another slide that's going to be coming up. But I just wanted you to know how committee approaches awarding those scholarships. Again, it's a very holistic review of your application packet. So not one thing is more important than the rest. They are going to look at absolutely everything. And here's the cool thing is they will actually tell you if you've been awarded a scholarship at the same time they tell you of the admissions decision. So you're not waiting months in between your decision and a scholarship award. You find it all up front so that you can make the best decision for yourself. And that's probably all I have to say about financial aid, Sparky.
No worries, Kim, because that's helpful just in terms of, your position is really help people make their application as strong as it can be to take advantage of that merit-based scholarship. And there may, again, that 100% part is really rare, but a lot of those same elements could be helpful to someone as they pursue an outside scholarship or application where they've got to share similar sorts of things. They can reuse probably some of that to go to an outside organization, or, if there's something that their employer needs to see, you can really help make that a possibility for folks and point them in the right direction there, right?
Great point. Yes. Thank you.
For sure. Chris, what would you add in terms of some of the other resources that are available through Brown to help people get a better idea of what their financial picture?
Absolutely. So filling out the FAFSA has always been a major obstacle for folks and something that a lot of people are hesitant to do because they just hear this is a financial form. So you get a little bit nervous about filling this particular form out. The FAFSA has just undergone a transformation that essentially they call it FAFSA simplification, which means that the goal of this form is now to be much easier to complete for the end user. So as a student, we want you to be able to go in and fill out this form as quickly as possible. So back in December, you may have had a little bit of difficulty filling this out if you tried because this was a new launch process, but this is now fully up and running. And they're saying that students providing this data are actually completing in record time. So as quick as 10 minutes to fill out this form for many students. So I don't want you to think that the FAFSA should be a barrier for you. It should actually be a pretty simple form to fill out once you get in there. And if you do have any difficulties, you can always call our office, set up an appointment, or email us so we can work with you. We do have on-call counselors 5 days a week, and we are happy to assist you with any questions that may pop up. The other tools that we have available, there's actually some financing worksheets on our website. This is meant to be kind of a deep dive into what we think this program will cost you and how this will fit into your total financing perspective. So in terms of what you may need to borrow and what you may need to budget for over the terms of this program. So these tools are really helpful. The other option is a federal tool that we have linked on our website as well. It's called the Federal Student Aid Loan Repayment Simulator. This is meant to be pretty much a good estimate on what to expect in terms of repayment. This is very hard for us to just give you a ballpark figure. If you ask us, if we borrow 10,000, what's that going to cost me in the long term? That's a very hard question for us to answer because you have to look at multiple factors, including accumulated interest and those types of things. So this tool is really meant to give you a great perspective on exactly what you need to look at in terms of repayment, what payment plan options are available to you, and potentially help you figure out if you may qualify for something like public service loan forgiveness, which we were talking about earlier. So it's actually a really, really good tool. It's pretty user friendly for a federal website. I think it's actually a pretty good end user tool. But I highly recommend it if you're considering borrowing to help cover some of this. It's very much worthwhile to dive into this a little bit deeper and learn more about what that repayment may look like long term for you.
Right on. Appreciate that, Chris. Thanks so much. So those are the three myths that we hope we've busted for you today in terms of, an Ivy League MPH is unaffordable. I got to pay back all this financial aid immediately. I got to do all this on my own. Plenty of tools, plenty of options for folks who need it. So let's just revisit really quick why this degree is worth it. Why is it worth pursuing all this financial aid, all these options that are available for folks? So Kim, this is where I turn it to you. When you've got people who, maybe you're on the fence about this degree, is this really the best choice for me? What are some of the things you tell them about why this program stands out?
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. So I'll definitely touch on the points that are in this particular slide, but I think one of the key aspects about this particular program is it was really designed for full-time working professionals. So when they created this, they had career-oriented, busy people who have multiple obligations in mind. So just know that they're thinking of you when they created this particular program. It is the approach, the lens through which they approach public health is going to be a practical application lens. So it's a little less about research, although inherently there's research involved in the program. It's more about the practical application. So if you're looking to gain those concepts and those skills you need to interact with members of your community, this is a really, really great option. So to the second point, this is fully online. We do not require any travel as part of this program. You don't have to come to campus or go anywhere else as part of it. So truly, again, they created this in mind for people who have obligations in their life and can't just pick up and go for a week or two at a time. So fully online, it is very flexible. Really, the design of this program is 2 classes per semester. That makes you, according to what I understand, and Chris can back me up, is that this makes you a full-time student at the graduate level. If that ends up being too much, you can actually go down to 1 class at a time. So if you do 2 classes at a time, we run year round, you'll finish your program in 2 years. If you go to 1 class at a time and that's what works best for you, fantastic. We will support you in that. That'll take you obviously double the time, so 4 years. But you have 5 years within which to complete this program, the courses and the course requirements for it to be conferred. So that alone should show you how willing the faculty and the director are to work with you to help you achieve your goals. It's really a lot of options and a lot of flexibility built into this program. The courses are asynchronous. So really the majority of it is you're going to be doing it on your timing when it's convenient for you. Obviously being aware of assignments and deadlines and that sort of thing. There are weekly discussion meetings because we want you to still have the opportunity to interact with our amazing world-class faculty. So once a week, these meetings are usually an hour. I'll be honest, people get very excited, so they do run over sometimes to an hour and a half, which is wonderful. But this is an opportunity where you get to interact with your professors, your professional classmates who are in totally different backgrounds and career fields than you. If you can't make it, the cool thing is it's not mandatory, so it doesn't count against you, and they will still record those and post them in the classroom for you, so you still have that opportunity to hear from your professors. But how nice to be involved, be able to ask your questions, be able to share your wisdom, your advice with your professional classmates as well. Small class size, that really kind of depends. I'll be honest, our spring and our summer starts are going to be much smaller than our fall starts. That's just traditional, as you probably know. And one of the other things that I want to circle back to is the top point where we do a lot of case-based learning in this particular program. Real life circumstances that you get to see. Maybe it came up during COVID, right? Obviously, lots of opportunity for learning in that situation. So the fact is they're going to use real life situations to help you understand public health better, to learn, be able to apply it to your own particular interest or situation. So I think I covered everything. We already talked about the price point. One of the main aspects of this program is it does prepare you for leadership. So it is a generalist concentration, super well-rounded look at public health, but it does emphasize leadership within public health in a great way throughout the entire program.
Fantastic. Yep, Kim, I think you did get it all, so I appreciate that. And again, a lot of this is just kind of scratching the surface about the Brown experience and the Brown difference as it relates to this program in terms of some of the guest speakers who come and are involved in it and helping share their perspective on a lot of these things. Case-based practicum at the end of it, where you're able to apply what you've learned to help solve a real world public health situation. And so, yeah, lots of great benefits here. And so obviously we're looking into the future a little bit more in terms of, hey, this is what this program is all about. For focus now on the present, we want to talk about the application based on, the typical audience that we have for these. Some of them are already in the middle of that application process. Some of them have yet to begin. So Kim, just give a quick overview of what the application process entails. And you'll see that we've called out on this slide, there's a nice advantage to people who submit their application by that early action deadline, which is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for highlighting that. Okay, so basic checklist for your prerequisites. Completed bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited university. 2 years of professional work experience. I really want to stress this because this has become a baseline expectation. You must have 2 years of professional work experience. So that's full-time work. We can talk through your individual situations. I highly, highly stress that myself and my fellow enrollment coaches, we need to speak with you so that we can give you the best guidance on your particular situation. But that's, so along with the professional experience, you need an updated resume or CV, whichever format you want to use is great. 3 letters of recommendation. So these can actually be a combination of professional and academic, or just professional. My perspective is you want to pick things that are most relevant and current to you. So if you graduated, 10, 15 years ago and you're not in contact with somebody academically from your bachelor's degree, obviously that's a moot issue. Just go with all professional. But you want to pick wisely. And I'll just stress this because committee looks at these letters of recommendation. They read through every single one of them, along with every item actually you submit to your application. But the importance of these cannot be understressed because the committee will read these. And if the people you've chosen aren't speaking loudly on your behalf of your qualities and your characteristics that will make you a great candidate, then the committee has to assume that they don't really know you, right? So this is a great way for committee to get to know you is through those letters. So pick wisely. Personal statement. This is an opportunity for you to share a little bit more about your passion for public health, your goals in public health. Why do you want to pursue Brown's program? What is it about our program that really draws you in and has made you commit to the time and the energy that you would put into pursuing your application with us? Let's see, official transcripts. I'm going to tweak that one just a bit. We can actually submit your application packet to committee for review with just unofficial transcripts. So those are typically much easier to get. They're usually free. Unofficial transcripts are fine, but you will have to provide your official transcripts if accepted into the program prior to starting your classes. I'm going to come back to that waived application fee here in just a moment, but you can see our link for the application. We used to use SOFAs. We no longer use SOFAs. We wanted control over that and to lower the cost for you. Wink, wink. It's cheaper with our application system. International applicants, you may have to submit a proof of language proficiency like the TOEFL or the IELTS. And then, of course, if you've studied overseas, you'll need a transcript evaluation. So we've identified West. West tends to be the most popular company used, but we do have 2 other companies we'll accept transcript evaluations from as well. Those are ECE and Spantran. And again, I'm going through this really fast, but that's why you need to talk to us so we can break it down for you in a much slower context. But let me circle back to the waived application fee. So committee has been very generous and said anyone who submits their fall application by March 15th, which is our early action deadline, will have their application fee automatically waived. That's $100 savings right there. So I really want to encourage you to work on that. Do your best to get your application submitted by that particular deadline.
Hey, appreciate that, Kim. I mean, this whole thing is about how to make this program more affordable. Let's start right from the top, right from when you first apply. So
Exactly.
appreciate that, Kim. Thanks so much. So it's about time for our Q&A. So if you joined us a little bit late, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and click the Q&A icon on your screen and type in your question. I see you've already got a few in the queue already. Just really quick before we start that, just to highlight our next webinar. Obviously, Chris and Kim have offered some great perspective for us today. It's another thing to hear directly from the students themselves. What is that online MPH experience like for students who are actually going through it? So next month, March 26th, our webinar topic will be meeting online MPH students. We'll have actual students here joining us and talking about their experience and answering some of the questions that you may have as you're considering this program. So be sure to join us next month to talk through that. So with that, we will start with our live Q&A. So also joining us here for the Q&A from the Brown Admissions team is Emily McGurl. Emily, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So she's here to help Kim and Chris answer any questions that come her way. Emily, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, just as a refresher.
Sure. So hi, everybody. My name is Emily McGurl. I am our admissions coordinator for online programs. I've been at Brown for about a month, so still super excited to join the team. My background in higher education is in admissions and also residence life. So my role, I help with admissions related questions, and then kind of once Kim's team helps you through that enrollment process, I can help you kind of deciding if the MPH program is for you, and still just kind of answer some general questions for you. So thank you all so much for joining us, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey, right on. Thanks, Emily. So again, we've already got a good amount of questions in the hopper. So let's start with some of the more financial specific questions first. So Chris, Daniel's got a couple questions about, interest rate for federal loans, talking about the, kind of the course costs. So what can you feel? Let's start with that federal loan interest rate question. So what insight can you provide us there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the interest rates are actually set in June of each year. So sometimes we hear a little bit earlier in May, but we won't know exactly what those interest rates will be until late May, early June of this upcoming year. I will tell you that the current interest rates for the unsubsidized loan are 7.05%, and the Graduate Plus loan are 8.05%. Both of those have origination fees. I'm happy to kind of go into that a little bit more with you. If you have questions, feel free to email me as well. But those are kind of the baselines of what to expect in terms of interest rates for this upcoming year.
Okay, good to know. And then Daniel was also asking about the cost per course. Is that $5,200? Is that going to be a fixed cost throughout the course of the program? Does it update every academic year? What are the logistics behind all that?
So I'm actually going to defer to Kim on that one just to be safe.
No worries.
Okay. So for the upcoming school year, the 24-25 school year, the rate has been fixed at $5,200. Keep in mind that is inclusive of all required materials, so you're not spending extra on books or any other resources. But the committee, the staffing will certainly, if they need to raise prices, they will. But as far as I know, that's going to be it for a while.
Okay, good to know. Okay, appreciate your questions, Daniel. Some of the other questions that we have are about the program itself. So I know we mentioned that practicum experience. It's that kind of culminating cap of the program. So Brown offering for MPH students to finish the 140-hour practicum. Kim, just talk about more about the practicum experience as a whole and the different options that are available to students.
Okay, so there's two aspects that are outside of the courses: practicum, which is the 145 hours, and then the capstone project is your culmination of the program. So instead of a thesis, because we are focused on practical application, they wanted to do a capstone project where you're going to get your hands a little dirty, if you will, based on your area of interest in what you're doing. So you do it in your location. you actually, so I'm focusing right now on the capstone, but you have a faculty advisor that will be assigned to you from the second semester on. And that's when you're going to be able to start talking through your ideas, your areas of interest, what you would want to ultimately focus your capstone project on. So that's one aspect. The practicum hours, the way I understand it, and so Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but the practicum hours are really designed to give you opportunities to see different aspects of public health. So, for example, let's say you're interested in working with the elderly nutrition wise. Okay, that's what you want to do. That's what you have experience in. That's what you want to focus on. But hey, wouldn't it be nice if you got introduced to maybe mother and child health or global health interest, things outside of your natural area of focus? It's really, really important to get a broader perspective. So those practicum hours are designed to help introduce you to different aspects of public health. We actually have a woman, for the life of me, I cannot think of her name right now. Yes, it could be old age, I don't know, but we have a woman. So if you don't have natural opportunities, a lot of people will do these practicum hours in their own workplace, which is wonderful. But if you don't feel like that's something you could do, or you want to go outside of that, this particular resource will help create opportunities for you. So she'll look for areas in your, she'll look for opportunities in your area, and then she'll introduce you. And then you would be able to kind of build on that particular introduction and that relationship to get exposure to different ideas. Am I right in that, Emily?
Yep, that's correct. So we have Brenda Brackett. She is our practicum kind of person. So she'll be working with you. And the practicum experience, really, we want you to use your, what you're learning in your coursework, what you're learning, in the program, and apply it into the field. So a lot of students do choose to do it at their own place of work. We just ask that you don't do it with something that you're already doing. So it can be at your own place of employment, but it has to be something that's different from your day-to-day job responsibilities. So just an opportunity for you to kind of go out into the field and use the, what you're learning in your classes, what you're learning from your classmates, and apply it into your practicum experience.
Right on. Great. Thank you so much, Kim and Emily, for your perspective there. So I've got a lot of questions that are around kind of similar topics, so I kind of want to address them all at once. Kim, you talked about the length of the program and part-time versus full-time. So I'm seeing questions about how many semesters is the program? Can you take more than 2 classes? Can I suspend the program for work or other reasons and then restart later on? So I know you touched on this a little bit, but just in the context of some of these questions that we have had, just reiterate just kind of what options are available for folks in terms of the length of the program and how flexible it can be.
You got it. Absolutely. Okay. So traditionally, the way it's set up is students take 2 classes per semester. So those classes do run concurrently, and we run year round. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you started in the fall, you took 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, 2 in the summer. Because there are 12 classes, you'll finish in 2 years. If you need to slow that down, you can take up to 5 years, as I mentioned previously. So can you take a semester off? The answer is yes. You would need to work with the registrar's office, potentially Emily. I'm not actually sure if Emily would actually help you with that, but the answer is yes, you can slow it down. On the flip side, expediting it or accelerating it, that question has been posed to the director a couple of times, and the answer is this: they will consider it on a case-by-case basis. What I want to stress is this is geared towards full-time working professionals, right? So most of you work a minimum of 40 hours a week. Some work more than that. With 2 classes, you're looking at a commitment, a time commitment of about 20 to 25 hours a week just on schoolwork. So if you were to add in a 3rd class, if that permission was given to you and you were to add in a 3rd class, you are legitimately looking at 40 hours a week just on school. So you would have to really make your plea if you felt like you could do that and still show good grades and meet the commitments and the requirements of the program and the courses specifically, then great. But honestly, you want to have a work-life balance. And I can tell you unequivocally, the director and the faculty really stress that importance of a work-life balance. So accelerating it, perhaps, again, it's on a case-by-case basis if you made that request, but as somebody who works full-time and knows what it takes to go through a master's degree, I just think it would be wise to kind of stick to the way that it's structured.
Yep. I'd agree with that, Kim. Just again, built for working professionals, the idea that you can continue to work and take this program, and especially Emily, as you talked about, taking advantage of practicum opportunities where you work outside of your normal job, your normal day-to-day job duties. Yeah, I think it's a good, and we haven't even talked about, family responsibilities and other things outside of work and school that take up time. So really appreciate your perspective there, Kim. Emily, I'm going to kick it to you for this next one, so I give Kim a chance to breathe and take a drink real quick. We've talked about the practicum. I'm seeing a question about international practicum options for students interested in global health. I know that's one of the emphases of this program, is that it's meant to be a globally minded program. So let's talk a little bit more about what options there are available for international students interested in that global health angle.
Yeah, so we have had some students that have done a practicum or kind of, research with a faculty who's doing experiences with international health. It is a generalist program, but we have had students who, are interested in that. So definitely be able to connect you with that as well. Our long day. Our director, Jen, I can connect you with her, and she will be able to talk to you in length about students who have been able to do some international practicum experiences as well. So if you'd like to be connected with her, I can drop her email in the chat, and she'd love to connect with you.
Fantastic. All right. Appreciate that, Emily. Thanks. Kim, I've got a couple questions related to the application itself. So Joshua's an overachiever, it looks like, and he wants to submit more than 3 letters of recommendation. Is that allowed, advised? What would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answer is yes, you can definitely submit more than 3. However, let me make a disclaimer here. In the application itself, when you get to the section where it asks for letters of recommendation, it will only allow you to identify 3 people and their contact information. Our application will actually send them an email. They will upload their letter of recommendation back to that email, and it comes back to the application. So you really don't touch those. So to add in more, they would actually then go through your hands, because you would have to upload them to the supplemental materials section. So I love that enthusiasm. And if you have letters in your hand and you just feel like, oh my gosh, these really just speak volumes about me and, my qualities and my characteristics that would make me a great candidate, awesome. To be honest, I wouldn't submit more than 5. I think, because here's the thing, right? Your packet is going before committee. It goes through numerous people on the committee. They literally read through everything, but you're not the only applicant. So they're reading through a bunch of different applications. So you want to be considerate of their time and finding sort of that right balance. So I would say 5 should be max. But if they're only asking for 3, that's fine too, right? Because that's what committee is asked for. So just maybe figure out the right balance for yourself, and obviously being considerate of committee's time is kind of how I think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, Kim. And then another letter recommendation, a specific question. What else should be emphasized beside work ethic? Obviously, we want to focus on, hey, they're up to the task for this program. What else would be helpful to be included in that letter recommendation that would really help it stand out to the committee?
Cool. Emily, did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
would say for letters of recommendation, the committee is really looking for, if you have somebody that's able to speak on your academic ability, that's definitely something that's, really helpful for the committee to know. If you have been out of school for a little bit, that's okay. So besides work ethic, your interest in public health. So if anybody knows, whether it's a new interest or if you've done some work, anybody that can really speak to your ability to be in a master's of public health program, or anybody that's really worked with you in a public health setting. And if you're new to public health, that's okay, just somebody that can speak on your personal character. It's really just an opportunity for the committee to get to know you. So the committee really does read all of the letters of recommendation and take them into consideration. So I would say the three, if you can get an academic one, if you can get somebody that's able to speak on your interest in public health, and then just your general work ethic as a professional would definitely be something that the committee would be interested in.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Emily. All right, I've been saving this one toward the end because, if I have a specific question related to transcript, do I ask an enrollment counselor, enrollment coach? And Kim, I think the answer to that is whether it's about transcripts or basically anything else, you're the go-to in terms of those specific questions because everybody's situation is going to be unique, right?
It is, yeah, for sure. So I'll just kind of give you some general takes on transcripts. So as I mentioned, unofficial transcripts are just fine for your application review. You do have to submit all transcripts from anywhere that you've studied. So not just your degree bearing schools, but even if you took, let's say, 2 courses at a community college, and eventually that shows up on your bachelor's degree bearing transcripts, you want to make sure you include that separate school transcript. So you have to provide all of them. International transcripts, as I mentioned, has to go through a transcript evaluation process. So we need that. And the cool thing is we can actually even accept an unofficial copy of those, because I have worked with many people who have a copy done, or I'm sorry, had that done a couple years ago, and they have an unofficial copy. Great, let's use that. That's awesome. We can still do an unofficial copy on that. But if it's something outside the norm, let's say, talk to us. So there's myself, there's Kristen, there's Katie, and there's Roseanne, and all 4 of us are very knowledgeable about the requirements, the nuances. I know there's a lot of nuances that are involved sometimes. So definitely reach out to us. Let us help you. We're always, always happy. This is our job. This is what we do. We love it. We are committed to helping you submit the best application packet you possibly can.
All right. Thanks so much, Kim. And looks like we made it through all the questions. So thanks everybody for your questions, for helping add to the conversation, and just thanks for spending part of your day with us today. And also, again, thanks Chris, Kim, and Emily for your answers, for your perspective, and for sharing your knowledge with us. So before we wrap up, just some quick reminders of deadlines. Again, early action deadline coming in a couple weeks, March 15th. You will get your $100 application fee waived if you complete your application before that date. So that's incentive there. If you need a little bit more time, the priority deadline is May 1st, and then the final deadline for application for the fall 2024 cohort is June 1st for classes starting in September. And just like Kim talked about, we've got a phone, we've got an email address. These enrollment coaches are here to help answer your specific questions, walk through your specific situation, and do everything in their power to get you the strongest application possible and set you up for success in the program. So once again, thanks to Chris, thanks to Kim, thanks to Emily, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Have a good rest of your day and week. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.